Okay, that's a really great question, I think.
We don't sell any tokens to the market.
So that's why we got like over 150 projects already using us as their decentralized storage solution.
Hello and welcome to Crypto Interviews. My name is Claudio and this is CryptoChain, and joining me today is Luke and also Ludwig from Crust Network, and they're here to talk about the latest from Crust. What have Crust been up to? What is coming up with Crust, because we are excited to hear about the updates, of course, and also the growth of the ecosystem, which is amazing. I've recently seen a photo showing all the different integrations that the Crust Network have been part of, and hopefully they can share some of that as well with the audience. So thank you for joining. Also, don't forget to like as well and drop a comment, because it really helps with the algorithm so that it can get spread to more people and more people can watch this video. Luke, welcome. Thank you for joining, and also Ludwig. So we're going to start off with you, Luke. If you just want to give a bit of background about what you're doing at the Crust Network and when did you join, basically?
Sure, thank you. So everybody, I'm Luke. So I'm from Crust Network. I'm the co-founder and CTO. So basically, I handle all the code stuff and all the design of the Crust Network protocol. So so my background is super straightforward and simple. So I have 7 years study on the distributed system, and in the ZGU plus Georgia Tech, like joint lab. So basically, I do all the like signal, like thinking or consensus research in that album. So after I graduate, I joined Microsoft in the Azure's blockchain platform for a year and a half. So so there I joined Crust Network before I read the white paper from IPFS. I think that's maybe the future, like the next generation of the next internet. So I built Crust with two of my other like another like two friends, and yeah, so that's it.
Sounds good. Sounds good. And do you want to go ahead as well, Ludwig?
Well, I'm Lude, or Ludwig. Most people call me Lude, it's just easier for English. I'm responsible for the BD lead role at Crust Network. I'm based in Germany, so I'm mostly, you can find me at the events within the European area and on the European continent. I joined Crust, almost 2 years ago, I think. Before that, I was involved with the Web2 industry. I was product lead at like a software as a service company startup. But for me, the next evolution was Web3. So it's something I'm also was personally interested since 2017. And since I was working in the cloud business before, and Crust is basically doing decentralized cloud as well, it's a great fit for me. And I'm mostly handling the business side, like partnerships, networking, onboarding projects, helping them to become successful with our technology and to realize all those benefits and values we provide with our technology for Web3.
Okay, sounds good. Sounds good. And so I'm gonna ask you, Luke, why Polkadot? Why did you choose that? And I know you started on Kusama, like a lot of the other parachain teams. But yeah, why Polkadot? Why Kusama?
Yeah. Okay, so that's actually I'm gonna do like preparing a very long answer, but I will just try my best to short it. So before we're using the like trying to convert the whole Crust network into the Kusama ecosystem. So we're building we're building on the Tendermint. It's on the Cosmos and plus the Ethereum. So we're trying to build our protocol on those like the blockchain infrastructure, you know. But we just found we just realized the substrate has a better margining, you know, and we're trying to and it will like cost the limited resources on both, you know, time and dev resources to build our like storage protocol based on the substrate. So first of all, we chose substrate, and then we chose Kusama and Polkadot later. But the functions between, like the differences functions between the Kusama and the Polkadot, it's actually the same, but we adjust some little bit about the params. Our protocol layer is like Kusama version is like a little bit more faster, you know, comparing with the Polkadot version. But in general, they are the same. Yeah.
Okay, sounds good. Sounds good. And let's talk about the economy as well, Ludwig. So actually, Crust started as an ERC20 when we're referring solely about the coin or the token, because it was a token on the Ethereum blockchain. So how come you decided to launch a token on the Ethereum blockchain first and then launch on Substrate? Like, what was the reason behind that?
Well, one reason was for sure the accessibility. When we launched our project back then, we were one of the very first chains actually connected to the, I think it was Rococo testnet. Luke, correct me if I'm wrong. Yeah, back then, since then we have our token as ERC20, and when we launched our mainnet last year in September, we also provided the token for our mainnet chain. Yeah, it was more like due to the technical development and the different steps, and we wanted to make our token accessible to holders before we actually have our mainnet. And ERC20 was yeah, the most feasible solution.
Yeah. And it's also a great way to market, I guess, right? Because you can grow a community once you have a token tradable. It's normally
Yes,
people
exactly.
joining the community asking questions like, hey, what's this all about? I can see that your token is trading on this exchange, or you know, and what are you guys doing? So it's definitely a great entry for the community. Cool. So let's talk about Kusama and Polkadot. I know you were saying that there are some similarities between the two, but we have seen parachain teams use two different coins for each of the ecosystems, right? So one for Kusama, one for Polkadot.
First of all, I need to say that we do have the dual token kind of economy. So for the Crust Shadow, for Kusama chain, the Crust Shadow network, we have the CSM token. And for our mainnet and the parachain, we have the CRU token. In general, both tokens have the same utilities in their designated network. Yeah, it's basically a dual token economy, but later on we also plan to have some utilities for the Kusama token, our CSM, on our mainnet.
Okay, so what's going to happen then if you do have CSM? Is CSM exactly the same in terms of tokenomics as Crust, as CRU?
No, it's not. CSM is totally community owned. So there are 200 million CSM in circulation. All of them have been distributed to the community via different campaigns. Obviously the crowd loan for the Kusama parachain, but then also to provide liquidity to Uniswap back then. So we had different activities to hand this token out, and it was important for us that this is a totally community-owned token. With the CRU token, it's different. The CRU token started with a quite fairly low supply, but due to the mining emissions and our mining process, we have continuous emissions of the token. At the moment, I think we're around 26 million token overall. The CSM token is basically fixed supply at 200 million without any emissions, but the mining process is also dependent on the CRU token and not the CSM token. So that's why we have inflation on one side and a fixed supply on the other side.
Okay, sounds good. Cool. Thank you for that explanation. So what are you planning to do with the Ethereum version, with the ERC20? Are you going to scrap that altogether? Are you going to have like a bridge which will allow you to migrate across? And is there going to be some kind of pegging in place, or are you going to inflate the supply with the ERC20? Like what's the plan there?
Yeah, we have already had the bridge from the Ethereum ERC20 token to our mainnet, you know, for the CRU version, our main token. And on the Ethereum, and it's quite different from like some other bridge tokens on other platforms, because we got a storage smart contract on Ethereum, which allows the Ethereum developers to place a storage order or just store whatever their files, you know, on the Crust Network. So it's two bridges. One is for the asset and another is for the storage. So we will bridge the Ethereum, like from the Ethereum developer or users storage needs to the Crust mainnet as well. So it does have some like usage on the Ethereum. Yeah.
Okay. So basically, so if somebody wants to integrate Crust Network as their IPFS solution, they can actually use either the ERC20 or the Polkadot version, or even the Kusama version if they want to build on Kusama and have a storage solution there, right? Okay, so it's a three-way system, to make it clear.
Yeah, we're like a Omni storage chain, you know, but we don't mention the concept Omni, but we are.
Wow, interesting.
Yeah, I think that's a very important point to mention. We are built on the Substrate framework. We are very active in the Polkadot Kusama ecosystem, and I would say that's the strongest ecosystem. Obviously, we have partners with, but we are not just limited to the Polkadot and Kusama ecosystem. Like Luke already said, we see ourselves more as an omni-chain, multi-chain kind of protocol, providing decentralized storage services for most public chains. And indeed, we already deployed our cross-chain storage smart contract to the Ethereum network, to Polygon, to Aptos, to Elrond, or now Multiverse called. So many public chains already can use Crust services. I think recently we deployed also to Arbitrum. So layer 2s will be the next kind of step for us. And all of those ecosystems or builders within those ecosystems can use our storage services in the most native way and can pay also in their native currency. And that's something that's really cool about Crust Network, especially because we don't need to go via any kind of centralized service providers. We have a direct chain-to-chain interaction, and to realize any kind of storage demand in the most native way possible.
Absolutely.
And we also are listed as official recommended solution by Ethereum and by Polygon, by Near in the documentation. So if you go in the Ethereum wiki, you will find Crust Network as recommended storage solution.
Wow, you really stepped up your game, didn't you? So that's really good. I mean, you're really up there now when it comes to, and let's talk about the ecosystem, because like I've had a look at the ecosystem and I saw that there are a lot of integrations across the board. So how did you manage to attract so many partners to actually use Crust Network? How come they decided to use you and not Filecoin, for example? I know it's kind of tricky now because you have to go into the competition, but I know Filecoin are also a big storage solution. They also have a lot of integrations, but why? How did you motivate them or convince them to use Crust Network? Did you offer them a better product in some way? Like, what would you say makes you better to the potential customer?
Yeah, in some kind of reason, we did a better product especially for like website hosting. You know, we built some like very useful but very smart tools on GitHub, so that we convinced that Uniswap and RV using it to integrate in their CI/CD process, which can make their like the product release more decentralized, but in a super easy way. So in kind of reason, we make a better product. But another thing is behind this product, we got a faster seeding process and cheaper prices, and we have no hard limit comparing with our wave. I mean, so that's why we got like over 150 projects already using us as their decentralized storage solution. You know, some of them are like using us hosting their website like Uniswap or RV, but some of them like just store their characters or some like NFT image or videos like Remark or other like NFT projects, or some of them using them to store their decentralized social media data like Matters the News. And we got like super rich like user scenarios. And like Luke said, we have already like integrated with more than 10 different Web3 platforms. So we're trying to providing a very useful, like super like open, like out of the box usage storage toolkits for all of the Web3 users and developers. Yeah,
I understand.
And I want to add something, if that's okay. I feel like also one reason people prefer Crust over Filecoin is because we are highly decentralized and highly permissionless. So with Filecoin, for example, you actually don't create a storage order on chain. It's more like you have to negotiate a deal with every single node operator themselves. They have to accept your data, and then you can upload it, and it's available. And I don't want to mention the project's name, but I recently talked with one of our partners, and they're actually playing around with both solutions. And they told me that for their Filecoin integration, sometimes they even have to call or email their node operator that he can accept their data. So that's not really permissionless and not really in the sense of Web3.
Okay.
And yeah, with Crust, it's totally different. We see ourselves more as an Uber kind of system. So you don't negotiate a deal with every single cab driver or taxi driver. You make a deal with Uber. And then Uber will take care of the rest. They will send you the driver, the payment is done, and so on. And that's the big advantages, I think, for Crust over Filecoin. And with that approach, you also get like a specific guaranteed number of replicas, which you don't get with Filecoin. So we also have like a high decentralization on like the physical file level by multiple nodes actually hosting this kind of data. And with Filecoin, it's more like if you want to have that, you can, but you have to do a single negotiation with every kind of node operator you want to host your file with. And that makes it way more convenient, way more decentralized by nature and by design.
Wow, interesting. Wow, you sold me on this. I mean, you basically presented the facts here and the advantages that you have over your competitors. So really amazing team. And now, like listening to you, I can understand why some people will be so bullish on your vision and what you're building, because you have built an awesome product at the end of the day, and credit has to be given where credit is due. So congratulations. But I have to ask about cost. So like, what is the cost if somebody wants to use Crust Network? How many Crust do they actually need? And does it depend on the chain as well? Like if you're on Ethereum, would it cost different than if you would be on Polkadot or on Kusama? Can you please talk about that?
Yeah, so the cost is it's a little bit different from different like platforms. If we're using the Crust Network directly with our blockchain, so for example, if you want to store 100 gigabyte data into our blockchain, it only takes you, I think, 0.01 CRU plus maybe $2. It's just like $0.02 for half a year. So it's quite like cheap, you know. But that's because the Crust Network blockchains, like the gas fee, the transaction fee is like incredibly low. But if you're using on the Ethereum or on the Polygon, it could be like quite a little bit higher than using the Crust Network directly because of the gas fee, you know. So that's the difference. But the same thing is quite cheap for like using Crust. So literally like you have $2, you can use Crust Network for a long time for like storing your personal data. You know, we have already like developed a product. It's called Crust Files. It's the first Web3 personal storage like the first Web3 Dropbox you can treat it as. So you can use that for like totally free because we handle all of the transaction fee and storage fees. But it only took you like 5 CRUs to unlock the premier users, like for you to unlock the unlimited like storage or something. Yeah, but it involves with the decryption and the encryption. So you can decrypt your personal data to upload into the Crust IPFS network, and nobody can see it. So that's for the end users product. Yeah.
So when it comes to encryption, I mean, how do users actually encrypt their data? Do they use like a password? Do they use some specific private key, or how do they actually encrypt it? What's the method for encryption?
Yeah, they're using the local private key. So so for right now, the encryption function is just happen all locally, you know. So but in the future, we are going to talk with Oasis Labs, so it do the private key custody. So they can like help you to custody your private key into their private smart contract, you know. So you can use it to like restore your private key from anywhere or any devices you are encrypt your files with. Yeah.
What about the backups? Imagine if the blockchain just goes offline because of something, because you discover there's some big issue there, like we've seen with the Kala network, right? They had to put it into maintenance mode, okay? And everything was turned off completely. So what will happen to the customer's data, to all that data that is stored on Crust Network if something like that was to happen? Is there any way to recover it? What's the backup plan?
Okay, that's a really great question, I think. That's because we are involved with the whole IPFS ecosystem, you know. So, you know, in the very fundamental logic of the whole IPFS protocol, all of the nodes are connecting with each other. So our IPFS nodes are connecting with Filecoin IPFS nodes, are connecting with, you know, for example, Piata or Fleek, the centralized IPFS nodes. So it's super easy for user to back up their data if we are like crash or like goes offline. So they only need to do is copy their CIDs into some centralized or whatever IPFS service and entered it so they can back up it forever. Like, so it's very easy because we are using the same protocol in their storage, in our storage layers. So you can back up the whole CID into Filecoin, or what if Filecoin crash? You can back up the Filecoin CID into Crust. That's the same.
Wow.
So it's just a little bit amazing because we're using the same protocols. Yeah.
And let's talk about that now again, because I am curious to get, now that we get into the backup. I used to work with databases, so I'm crazy about backups. And so I have to ask, what about if you want to back up, say there are different types of backups. There's like a full backup that you can do usually like once a day, maybe less depending on how important your data is, but the differential. So the differential. So let's say, for example, you want to ensure that 99.99% of the data is always backed up so that if it cuts off, let's say, I don't know, whatever time frame, you want to make sure that you're not losing data between that time frame. I mean, is that possible with Crust Network? Do you have that kind of backup system in place?
So, yeah, you're talking about disaster recovery.
Yes,
so
correct.
For the disaster recovery on the IPFS system, it's a little bit different from like the traditional database system. So the IPFS is consisted with several 256 gigabytes each for each database. You know, they consist with this database into a Merkle DAG. So if you crash with one database, you only crash on the local convert. You know, after you convert and put it into the network, you won't lose it anymore. So, but the drawback is like you cannot store any like relationship data. So the database, but on IPFS system is still a big trouble. So you can only like store for the file-based file or system on the IPFS system, you know, the whole so that's the difference between the IPFS and the database.
Okay, let's talk about the next topic. And this is the question that has to be asked. I mean, I'm asking this in every interview now because it is the bear market. Funding for the team. I mean, how do you guys, what situation are you guys currently in when it comes to funding? Do you have enough runway for, say, the next number of years? And if so, for how long? Because a lot of investors want to know, you know, if they can feel comfortable, even if a project has like grown as an ecosystem and they have a lot of integrations, funding is always a concern in the bear market, you know. So I have to ask, like, how are you guys doing? If you could please share in terms of funding.
Yeah, obviously bear markets are hard on projects, but we like to plan, or we like to plan long term. We're not a project that's just planning with a 1 year runway and so on. Even during bear market times, we make sure that we have at least 2 years plus runway without any additional token sales. And I think you can also check our treasury wallet. So we don't sell any tokens to the market. We are quite well funded, I would say. but yeah, I don't want to give you any specific numbers without Luke's consent, but maybe he wants to add something to that.
Yeah, no, it's not the numbers I want, it's more the period, the time frame. Like how long can you sustain without having to lay off any devs, any employees in general, you know, because you need devs to continue development of Crust and to improve and to stay up to date with the technological advancements. So how long do you think you have until you'll say, okay, now we have to start selling our coins or the team coins?
Yeah, like Lou said, we got 2.5 year runway without any token selling, but I don't know the specific number. I mean, it's the whole Crust network is run by the DCF, which is the Decentralized Cloud Foundation, and they got plenty of the funds. They not only run Crust network, but they do the investment, you know, from last round of the bull and the last round from the bear. So they got the money to back by the whole Crust network project, but they gives us the time for they can just make sure totally like more than 2.5 year runway. Yeah, so that's the answer I know. Yeah.
Okay, sounds good. Yeah, 2 years sounds pretty good to me, to be honest. I mean, most teams usually have between 2 to 3 years. So, I mean, considering you've launched quite some time ago as well, you are on 3 different ecosystems. You have a lot of integrations. I think that's pretty cool. And in terms of sustainability for the team going forward in the future, I mean, what do you actually need to self-sustain? Are you going to be using the treasury to self-sustain, or what is the plan there?
So in the long term, our plan is to establish additional revenue streams. So for example, yeah, that's some alpha, but I don't want to say too much, but we're working on more like a commercial targeted product suite, which also will create some revenue for our miners, but also for Crust as a project. And yeah, so to become sustainable, like you said, you can't just live off token sales or VC money. You need to actually create real business revenue where you bring real value to customers where they're willing to pay for it. And at the moment, we have our on-chain protocol. Everybody can connect it. We have a specific storage fee on it. But yeah, 99% of all those service fees go to the miner directly. Some of it will be burned and so on. But yeah, Crust Network as project itself doesn't really profit from those orders because it's a purely P2P based system. And that's also what we want. But yeah, with our new product suite, for example, we're gonna launch some products that will be able to create some revenue streams for us as well to keep building and to keep improving.
Absolutely. Sounds good. It's great that you have a plan. Now let's talk about the marketing aspect. So what are your plans to get the word out there, apart from people like myself, of course? What are your plans to really tell people about Crust and for people to promote Crust? And how do you plan to do that going forward?
Yeah, so we do a lot of work on the actual B2B side at the moment. Because we want to drive a lot of adoption to our network, usage to our network, because I think those are the fundamentals we want to focus on as project. And with those fundamentals, we believe our project becomes more and more interesting to investors, to holders, and so on. We try to do that by being as accessible as possible to developers. First of all, one important step I feel is creating awareness, not just for Crust Network as a project or for our specific vision, but for decentralized storage in general, because I feel it's still a topic that's is a little bit, it deserves a little bit more light to be shined on. Because it's fundamental for Web3. When we think about what's the main differentiator between Web2 and Web3, then everybody immediately says it's the ownership, that you actually can own your data, your assets, and so on. And unfortunately, most of the Web3 related storage still is hosted on centralized infrastructures like AWS and Google Clouds. But when we have the data over there, then like we can't really say that we own it, because physically Amazon still owns it, and if they want to censor your data, they can do that.
Yeah.
And so awareness and education, I feel, for decentralized storage in general is something we are working on. But on top of that, we also try to get our community involved with different activities, where we work with credential projects or task-based projects where community can get involved with tasks and participate in spreading the word about Crust Network. We also have an open community program where we welcome new members to support our project. And overall, obviously, there are a lot of other things like exchange listings and so on. We recently had another one on Maxi Global. All those are things to get CRU in the hands of the community and to spread the word about what we guys are doing and building.
Sounds good. Sounds good. Thank you for that. And let's talk about anything exciting that might be coming up for Crust that you'd like to share. Anything that the community should look forward to, basically.
Okay,
maybe
so
our new roadmap.
yeah,
The new roadmap.
Sorry. Yeah, so I'm going to mention one thing which I personally super excited because I personally really think like the whole decentralized social could be the next wave. You know, not only just Messari rated the highest rate in their research paper, but also I just read a lot of like research from some like ventures or my personal like taste. So I think for the decentralized social, the decentralized storage is a must to have, you know. So, but comparing with our competitors, I think Crust is the best solution, like best decentralized storage solution for the decentralized social because of two things. One is like Luke said, we don't have any permissions. Don't like Filecoin needs to email somebody to ask him to store data for you. So the whole social is faced to the end users. They need a permissionless network for like they can call any storage Ubers wherever, whenever they want, right? So that's the first reason. And the second one is we do not have any hard limits. So comparing with Rwave, they store everything into the block directly. So it's very easy to calculate their like hard storage capacity in the whole network, but we are not. So we have already contained over 1.7 million storage orders. We can say we are like the biggest decentralized storage project in this whole Web3 ecosystem. So we can store anything because of the fundamental, you know, logic and the protocol designs were totally different from Rwave. So comparing with that two reason, I think we are the best like decentralized storage for the decentralized social. So recently we contacting with Nostr team. You know, you heard about that project from the Bitcoin like ecosystem. Yeah, so they and we are contacting with Forecaster. You know, we want to run their relay or hub and store their personal messages or like publication or posts for them. So yeah, that's a super exciting like forwarding like news or like things for me. Yeah.
Yeah. And I think what's always is super exciting is when we actually talk with the projects and where we try to find synergies for different use cases. There's so many cool different use cases we're actually working on, and sometimes it surprises ourselves. So we, for example, work with Robonomics where we store machine data. Now they contacted us where we're talking about storing drone data. Then we do backup for messaging applications. We do backups for order systems on decentralized exchanges. So sometimes it's cool for us to hear about all those different use cases from partners. We didn't even think about it in first place, but there is a huge demand for Web3 overall, and we believe, this year will be a big year for decentralized physical infrastructure in general. And I feel even Binance or Phantom, they announced some storage solutions now, I read. And yeah, I feel it gains more traction. And yeah, we are ready for that. And we are happy to provide any kind of we provide all the storage projects with storage. Yeah.
Perfect. Thank you. I really appreciate that. Luke, Ludwig, thank you very much for coming on. And by the way, if you are interested to learn more about Crust Network, I will be posting the links in the description of this video and also in the pinned comment to check them out. Great team. They've done a lot. I mean, they're one of the best in the ecosystem by far. I mean, the detail, the proof is in the detail. There's no arguing here. So that's all you have to look at. Thank you for coming on once again, guys. I appreciate it. I'll hopefully talk to you again in the future with more updates. And I'll see you in the next video. Take care. Bye-bye.
Thank you.